All right, Tim Cain, game development, tunnel vision. If you're new to this channel, we watch a lot of Tim Cain. He's creator of Fallout, and he's worked on quite a lot of games, including Arcanum and WildStar. He's done some consultation work for other games too, and he's just a very knowledgeable, nice individual. Knows a lot about RPG games, a lot about RPGs, and a lot about game dev. If you want to see the next video, scroll 2 hours. It's not going to be that long. Did he make Fallout? Yes. Yes, he did. What do you think chances are of success as an indie dev if your prototype is really well made and a good idea for a game? Depends on your budget. Depends on your budget.
Salut à tous, c'est moi, Tim. Aujourd'hui, parlons de la... Gotcha! I bet you right now some of you are reaching for that YouTube translate button, and some of you were thinking, whoa, Tim's French accent is terrible. Trust me, that's been said.
Yep. It's like a Polish accent.
No, I'm doing this video about game development tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the things that occurred to me. I get a lot of questions about a lot of things. And early on, when there were less of you, I would answer and say, oh, that's not something I know, or I can't talk about it. I did do a video on
I do that a lot
things
too.
I can't or won't answer. But since then, there's been a lot more questions that encompass a lot more things, even about game development or tangentially related to game development, that I literally cannot answer. I either don't know it or I'm not qualified to answer.
Well, and that shows a maturity too, is right? It's one thing to pretend that you know. It's another thing to give your best guess, but tell people that you don't know at all. Like I'll do that a lot. It's like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll give you my thoughts on this, and it could be wrong because I want to be challenged. I want to say, here's what I think is right about this game development issue. And if any of you in chat have better knowledge than me, I like to learn from that. And a lot of you are just exceptionally talented in things like art and animation and sound, things that I don't know very much about at all, or I'm not very good at. And being able to absorb that knowledge from you makes me better as a game designer. So, but everybody has tunnel vision. Everybody has their specialization. Nobody is a perfect developer, especially solo developer. Everybody needs help. And it's a big maturity being able to admit, like, yeah, I don't know that thing. I don't know that.
So let me summarize. I mentioned this in my career video. I've never done anything else. I've been doing game development since I was 16 years old, professionally, like getting paid to do it. So other than being in school, and I did get paid in grad school to teach and research programming issues. Well, I taught programming and I researched AI. Other than that, I've never been paid to do anything else in my entire life.
I'm almost the same.
Other than be a game dev. One exception you could say was in 2005 when I helped someone with a theme park design. That's also in the career video. But I really have never done anything else. So this creates this form of tunnel vision in my life. And also you need to realize that it's true for this channel as well. I have a lot of game development stories. As you can tell, I've been talking daily, near daily, for over a year just about game development. But I lack a certain foundational set of experiences that almost all of the people watching this video have. You have worked a number of jobs, especially when you're a teenager. You know, while all my friends were getting jobs at department stores and fast food restaurants and little stores like shoe stores and pet stores, or working with a landscaping company, or, doing internships at different companies. I wasn't. I was literally leaving school early to go to my game job. In fact,
that's wild.
I had...
that's cool, though.
I went through 3 years of French in high school, tested out of French 4, and had started French 5, and I quit it because I wanted to have a little more time to be at work. I mean, some of you might going, wow, you're such a workaholic. To me, in late high school, my junior and senior year, what I was doing at work was way more interesting to me than anything I was learning in high school. I was learning about operating systems and programming languages and techniques and how the game industry worked. And to me, that was fascinating. And that would,
I mean, I think this is something that we see in every industry, though, in every facet of life. Like people like being right, of course. I mean, obviously, right? And we see that people with incredible knowledge of specializations, especially on on social media, for instance, is one case where we see, like, let's say somebody who's really experienced in, I don't know. We can use like I'll use Jordan Peterson as an example because I really liked a lot of the stuff he did prior to becoming famous, like a lot of the books he wrote and the seminars he talked about and lectures he had. Right, he's very knowledgeable about psychology, but he gets pulled into the political industry, the political sphere, and he tries to apply some of his knowledge, and some of it works, but other bits of it, it's like he doesn't know. This is out of his wheelhouse. But a lot of people assume that because he's knowledgeable about A, he's knowledgeable about B, C, D, and E. And that's not true for anyone in the world. And so we kind of prop up individuals on pedestals that because they're extremely right about one thing, they're extremely right about everything. And they're not. And this usually makes people fall flat on their face, right? It's like the moment they enter the political sphere, they become a bit extreme, they got kind of crazy, gone, done. Career ruined. And it's just time and time and time and time again. It's like it's okay to not know something. It's okay to say I am not in this industry, so I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about the movie industry. There's some similarities to game dev, but I don't really know anything about it. So I can give my ideas, my opinions on it, but I don't really know. I am looking at it as an outsider just like anybody else who's not in it. I don't even think most experts are right about their own field, let alone other fields. That could be true. Andrew Huberman and some of his ADHD productivity tips, lol. I don't know who Andrew Huberman is. Semi, though, I'm extremely right about everything. Also, how's it going? Of course, Belicha. The expert of experts in chat. But he's right, like, if you only study game dev, and I think this is definitely true for, well, it's just true for everybody. Somebody's super famous in the productivity sphere. Oh, okay, yeah. You know, game designers, we do like to learn about everything, and we try to learn about as much as we can because it can all influence the way that we design. Like, for instance, I may be working on a game about movies, about making movies, right? About like maybe a movie industry tycoon game set in the 1980s or something. I don't know, right? And so learning about movies can benefit me to make that game in the future. Maybe there's a market for that game, right? And I sense it and I can say, okay, I'm going to apply the knowledge that I know about this to help me make that game better. So especially for game designers, learning about anything and everything can have an effect. The Last of Us was inspired by them watching one specific section of planet Earth. It's like, what if this fungus that's being shown on ants were to jump to humans? Just be like Ubisoft, just full send whatever you feel like. One of his tips was to reduce sugar intake, which has been scientifically proven to actually make symptoms worse. Because it works for non-ADHD people does not mean it works for people with a neurochemical disorder. Fair enough. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
way beyond anything I was getting at school. However, you have to realize that this created this weird tunnel vision in me. I've never dealt with the public. I've said to friends of mine, now that I'm semi-retired,
Same.
maybe I should go get a retail job. And they're like, no, don't do it. I've never, ever in my life worked with physical product. Whenever we finished our game, it was sent off to duplicators and printers and, CD manufacturers.
Yeah, and you have those interesting cases. Like for instance, Richard Garriott, the creator of Ultima, he, Human, thank you for the follow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
The what was I saying? Richard Garriott, the creator of Ultima, he physically printed and packaged his own discs for at least the first Ultima game. Like I think he worked in a mall at that point, and if I remember correctly, he went to another shop in the mall, or I think somewhere nearby, to get the game books printed, and he put them into plastic bags. So he was actually creating his own physical discs, or at least some of the physical materials for the original Ultima. And there's only like 200 copies of those or something that exist in the world, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's like even in game dev, if you've never dealt with something, you don't know the specifics of it. and that can lead to a gap in knowledge, especially with being able to
So I
answer
never
questions for Tim Kaine here.
worked with physical product the way a lot of you have at jobs where you did stocking, where you managed inventory, where you checked people out at cash
Hmm.
registers. I've never ever done that. And I've also done no form of physical labor. I've never done any job except sitting in front of a computer. So it leads to this weird.
Penzroll, thank you for the follow. I've done a little bit of physical work. I did some factory work for repairing electrifiers in chemical plating companies, and it was very hot. The air just was smelled like chemicals, and it was very exhausting. But it felt good. It felt good to do it. Like you're doing something that's just physically exhausting during the day, and I don't know. There's kind of that I don't know. Maybe it's like a masculine feeling to it, or maybe it's just something that women feel too. That doing that physical labor is just really satisfying from like a mental standpoint.
Point of view, this weird lens I have on everything. Like, I know the thermodynamic equations behind how internal
It's
combustion
AC. Shut the fuck up.
engines work, but I can't fix my own car. That's what I'm
That's
trying
pretty
to
funny.
express
Yeah.
here. And that's why there's a lot of questions that I don't even touch anymore. It seems repetitive to go, I don't know anything about that. I can't answer that.
Here's the thing: if I fix my AC and I ruin it, I'm responsible. If I pay somebody to fix my AC and they fuck it up, they are responsible. This physical work is not mentally draining you to the brink of a burnout. That's true, yeah. Boomer can't fix his own car. Fake Boomer. He says he's been sitting in front of a computer since he was 16.
That's not
I'm
that's not in my
almost
area
similar.
of expertise. And just to put a pin in it, I ran Troika Games with Leonard Borarsky and Jason Anderson for 7 years, from 1998 to 2005. And this is just me talking. I'm not going to speak for them, but I had no training at all in running a business, business development. I had one accounting class from high school. Troika was run to make games, not to make money. Now, some of you are going, great. That's what a game company should do. Focus on making games.
No, a game company should also make money because it has employees and it has responsibilities. Like you need to provide stability, right? So I'm in the same case. Like I don't know much about running a business. When we get funding for Microraptor Games, guess what? One of the first people I'm going to hire is someone to run the business. Now they're not going to. That's not going to mean that they're going to make the decisions about the company and the direction it's going, right? But that if they are need to make decisions about finances and what we need to do, if we can afford hiring a new employee or something, I can defer to them because they have experience with that. Or if they know more about like the legal stuff, how to deal, how to contact different companies that we need for things that I may not have even considered. I'm only in this position because we have no money and I have to be in this position. But once we have that money, I'm out of here. I'm going to be director. I'm going to make sure that I can just handle the direction of the company and lead the team, right? Micromanager.
Others of you right now are going, duh, I can totally tell from the games you made that that was your focus. We had 3 games by various groups of people are considered cult classics: Arcanum, Temple of Elemental Evil, and Vampire Bloodlines. But all of them had bugs, design issues, like major flaws.
Every game does.
And beyond that, I'm talking beyond the actual making games, Troika itself had a flaw because businesses need to make money.
Yep.
They need to. I know people don't like to think about that, and they're like, oh, businesses, they use that as a negative thing. Businesses are just trying to make money. Duh. That's what they do. That's why they're formed. If they don't make money, everyone who works there loses. And that's what happened at Troika.
Yep.
We were not focused on making money. We didn't make good contracts. We didn't focus on business development. We didn't focus on business relations or anything like that. Troika got shut down by us. And it was my idea to shut it down. If you want to blame someone, it was my idea. Because it just was not being run as a good business. We were running it to make good games. It sounds like, hey, good. No, it was bad. It was bad for Troika. It was bad for the employees because
It's not to say that there isn't a balance to this, right? But if you don't focus on the things that you need to keep the company alive, then of course the company is going to die, right? You need to pay employees. Like they need stability, they have lives, they have obligations, they have payments they need to make, of course. So it's not like if you it's not one or the other, right? It's not black or white. It's not either you make good games or you make a lot of money. But there is a balance to this, right? Where you may need to sacrifice some qualities of your game because there's just no way in hell that you can support another 6 months of development. It's very possible. It's a reality. It's a business. And I don't like the idea that I know that I've seen some developers who work in companies that are very privileged to have a lot of financial support and backing, or very successful games that have made a lot of money, and they talk about this like every company can do it, and it's like, no, they can't. My company doesn't have any money, and when we have money, I need to be very, very careful about how it's spent. I can't just go buy something random for the company that the company doesn't need, because we don't have any other money. We don't have a diversified income here. We have one income, which will be mainly from a publisher. We need to be very careful about how we spend that money and how we hire people. And I want to pay them well, of course, but it needs to be transparent. It needs to be very well organized. And I don't think that I'm good at doing that. I don't think I'm good at handling expenses. So I need to hire somebody that can handle that. Gamers try to make money.
we couldn't keep going as a concern.
Yeah, it is.
So
it sucks.
The reason I made this video, aside so you could hear a dog snoring again,
You can't hear him. Funny.
If you're watching my channel, you have to realize that there's a lot there's some things I won't talk about, NDAs, current games I'm working on, but there's also a lot I can't talk about. I just have no experience, including game development.
Yep.
So when people ask questions about indie, or if I say something and there's a lot of comments of people going, well, Tim, that's not how it works in indie. You're right. I don't know anything about indie, and I don't pretend to. Similarly, I can't talk to you about venture capital.
That was my
I know
breathing.
a lot of colleagues who've gotten their game companies off the ground or gotten games funded through venture capital, VC. I don't know anything about that. I've never done that.
Nor me.
I don't know what life is like at big publishers. I mean, really big publishers like EA or Ubisoft or
Same. Don't
Sony. Know. The closest I ever got to that was working at Obsidian that got bought by Microsoft, and then I left. I mean, you might think NCSoft, but I worked at a little teeny division, Carbine, where there was a bigger home office in Austin, which I didn't work at, and an even bigger office in Seoul, South Korea, which I didn't work at. So I don't know how things go there internally. People ask questions about engine. People have asked me about Godot. I don't know anything about that. I know about Unity and Unreal. And even then, I didn't work in any other engine except the one source engine from Valve until I made Bloodlines, which came out in 2004. And that was 23 years into my career. So there's so many things I don't know about other game engines. Additionally, people ask about programming languages. And yeah, I've done assembly, but back in the 8086, 8080, 8088 days,
Like
pretty much any language you're going to ask me
a few
about
more than 5 games.
C, C++, or C Sharp, I don't know much about. I've studied them academically. I know Fortran and Snowball and, but Ada, things I haven't looked at in decades.
I mean, it's crazy. It's like you look at Tim, and like Tim is not inexperienced, but most of his work comes from an era where things were definitely different. I mean, like he said, he only really knows Unity and Unreal and a little bit of Source. And it's like, yeah, because most of the engines he was working in prior to that were proprietary engines. They were engines made in-house. These third-party engines didn't really gain a lot of popularity and usage until Unity and Unreal started competing. And that was only 10 to 15 years ago, that started. So it's very new.
And, I've done a little in Python and Perl, but not much. And my deep knowledge of the C languages got me through that. So I wanted to do this quick video basically saying, hey guys, there's a lot I don't know. So I need you to add that to the growing list of lenses through which you watch my channel. And just know that you can ask me questions about things, but I don't know how to answer them. So I try, and if it's a short answer, I'll respond to your comment. If it's a longer answer, I'll make a video. But there's just a lot of things I don't know anything about. And for all you native French speakers, I apologize for how I opened this video.
Yeah, who cares about the French anyway, right? But I really respect this. I respect Tim Kaine because he is very humble in that regard, where he knows what he knows. He knows a lot about what he knows, but he's very open to just saying, like, yeah, I don't know anything about that. And I think that that's a good lesson for every developer. That's something that I struggled with early in my career, is to, I was egotistical. It's like you want to be the one that's the most knowledgeable in the room, but in reality, you shouldn't be the person that thinks they're the most knowledgeable in the room. You should be able to say, yeah, I know about this, and that's about it. And I defer to other experts on other matters. And when you do that, you can work in a team that is very that has flattened their ego to the point of near non-existence. It will always exist, of course, and especially on like bad days or an argument, it might come out a little bit, right? It might flare up like a little bit of a demon inside you. But a good team can say, okay, we're making feature A, which needs, really good level design experience for like open world stuff, and strong game designer in terms of mechanics. So it's like you guys have this expertise, come together, you're a strike team, handle this, okay? You're going to be the feature owner for it. You should be able to say what you don't know, especially in teams, because then that you know where the knowledge gaps are. You can say, okay, do we need to consult with somebody? Do we need to bring somebody in part-time to assist us with this because we don't know about it? You don't want to have like an art director, for instance, who says, oh yeah, no problem, I can handle this and that. And it's like, well, they've never worked on 3D. And he just said that he's going to be able to handle, managing the outsourcing for 3D. He might not do terribly, but maybe we should just consult with a outsourcing company or something and utilize them and their knowledge and, work them into our pipeline here for it. So I can really respect that. I think that shows that he's managed his ego very well, and he's just like, yeah, I want to learn about this, but I don't know anything about it, and therefore if you ask me a question, that I will pass that on to somebody that can better answer that. And we need to continue doing that on this channel. We have been doing it, but we need to continue to do it and make sure that at no point should you guys ever look at me as like this bona fide expert on game dev and on everything game dev. Most of my experience is game design. The second most experience is with production, but I've never been a producer. And the third one is with biz dev. And I've only started with biz dev. So these are my 3 areas of expertise. I can answer questions about these, but know that game design and biz dev are probably the only ones where I have experience personally, and production I only have some experience with because I've been trying to study it for the last couple of years, because I've had previous problems in my jobs with production, and I'm trying to understand how to properly create games. So we create, we're still failing to make Golden Chronicles sometimes in terms of production. Like we make some mistakes, we spend a bit too much time on something that doesn't matter. It happens, right? We're still learning on the job, and we're trying to become better as we go. So it's a never-ending process. We will never be a master. We will simply be getting better, hopefully, and at some point, 30, 40 years down the line, I can say, I feel pretty confident about some of the stuff, but guess what? I probably still suck with animations. If I'm here designing a game, learning from someone with experience, I really appreciate that. It's amazing that I have experience, because some days I just feel like, shit, I still don't know. There's so much I still don't know, but it's more of like a motivational thing for me rather than I feel depressed because somebody out there knows more than me. I like to learn from others. I like to ask people questions and say, okay, how do I do this thing that I'll jump into it, I'll try it myself, and then I will sometimes fail, and it's like, okay, I have exhausted my personal understanding of how I think this is handled. Is there anybody who can help me with this? And I think that's important too, is giving people the space to try and fail themselves. If you coddle and handhold, especially juniors, I don't think that they often learn the tools and mentality necessary to be a senior, right? Because seniors don't know everything, but they're very good at having the mindset and the internal tool set to take the existing knowledge they have and challenge themselves and go to Stack Overflow, to be honest. Ask questions and argue they are wrong because you think otherwise. Sometimes, yes. I think it's okay to argue that you're right and still be able to admit that you aren't for sure. You can say, I think I'm right, but I don't know for sure. Either way, that was a great another episode here from Tim Cain, Game Development Tunnel Vision. We'll move on to the next one. Bye, YouTube.